Good evening, and what is up, Razorback Nation and Razorback family? We are back this week with our Razor recap after taking a week off last week due to traveling from back from Arlington, and we've got another full jam-packed show for you. With it was due to a big Razorback weekend in Fayetteville this weekend. Razorback baseball came back and got the sweep at home. You saw a no-hitter in softball, and then in Arkansas gymnastics history with its perfect 10. All that coming at you this afternoon. But before we dive in, we got to thank our lovely sponsor, Razor Pigs. Looking good never felt so fun. Razor Pigs is the Arkansas brand, bringing some serious style to the golf course, tailgate, and everywhere in between. From high-quality polos to head-turn hats, they've got what you need to rep the natural state with pride. Found right here at home and now run by a Razorback-loving family, Razor Pigs is where comfort meets school, so go hog wild and shop Razor Pigs today at razorpigs.us and our friends over at Scarlet Letter, Arkansas's very own handcrafted spike seltzer. You can check them out today. And if you are in Northwest Arkansas, check out the Core Brewery tap room where you can get Scarlet Letter in all of its various flavors. And, man, it was a busy weekend this weekend in Fayetteville. You had basketball. You had baseball, its home opening series. You had softball with its home series, if you will, with the Razorback Invitational going on. Gymnastics was going on. It was just everything was going on today, this weekend in Fayetteville. So it was a busy time and trying to catch as many events as possible. But we'll open up with Arkansas basketball bouncing back this week after, that tough emotional loss on the road to Alabama. The real question was, how's this team going to come out Saturday? After playing 2 overtimes, was this team going to look exhausted? Were they going to come out slow start? Things like that. And then you were kind of wondering, all right, who's going to be available? Looking at the injury report, as we discussed on our midweek show, Carter Knox out for the foreseeable future due to the surgery on his meniscus. And then the initial injury report that came out initially had Sealy as doubtful, but then Saturday the injury report came out and he wasn't on it. So he, I guess, quote unquote, was available, but didn't see any minutes in this game. So you rolled out with a seven-man rotation, and Arkansas comes out and gets the job done, 94-86. And it's good to bounce back here. Acuff, not as big of a day as what he normally has. Fair for him to kind of not have a off game, but after just coming out and scoring 49 and doing all the insanity that he had against Alabama, you saw a few other guys step up and kind of help this team, and it was a good thing to see. So, Zane, you were at the game. You want to kind of open us up here and initial thoughts on what this team looked like before we dive into some stats?
Yeah. So, first off, you could tell from the start, Acuff was not 100%. It was one of those, obviously he still was a good starting point guard as normal. But yeah, you could tell there were a few moments where he was kind of favoring one leg over the other. And a few times where he was kind of, throughout the game, just kind of almost giving up to let other guys go. And that's good for the team as a whole, but it's in instances where he's normally kind of taking the lead on it. So definitely, rest them. And I know Cal said after the game that they kind of had a different approach after that Bama game. They had taken Thursday off. Friday, they only really did like a walkthrough kind of. So there wasn't a full scale practice. And he made a good point. He addressed that after last night's game, saying that, at this point in the season, what can I do to condition them more or help more? So at this point, it's more so game planning for an offense and kind of scouting guys, more of a walkthrough. And he even said he was ready to come into that post game ready to defend them because he wasn't sure how they'd come out. So I feel like with this game kind of being that first where they've kind of almost taken off in between games and just had a walkthrough one day, with the intensity that they showed after a 50-minute double overtime game, I wouldn't be shocked to see them kind of take this approach moving forward. Take today off, maybe even take Monday off or a walkthrough, Tuesday walkthrough, and then just, really save the legs for the actual game, especially if it's still going to be a 7-man rotation. Sealy was upgraded to where he was available. But what y'all didn't see on the broadcast was every single time out, he was going down the baseline with the trainer, either doing a stretches or light jogs or high knees. He was doing something to try to loosen up a little bit. So it was one of those probably where if guys had fouled out, we'd be able to use them if need be, but we definitely weren't trying to use him or trying to probably avoid that. He was also on the bench, in the sweats that probably could have come off with shorts underneath, but he was definitely looking like he wasn't going to play or wasn't exactly ready to play or prepared to play. So, that is one kind of noteworthy thing. I thought it was going to be another week before he played. So I was kind of shocked when I saw he was available, but then seeing him do all that during the timeouts, that was kind of okay. Like that makes sense. It's just kind of an emergency situation. You won't be able to throw him in if need be, just for another experienced body. But, it was a rough physical game. There were some, in addition, things that happened. Kind of halftime was a funky thing, but yeah, it was a good game, good physical game. We kind of got beat up down low, but we also kind of took our own shots down low. So it was a good game to watch. It was definitely exciting throughout.
Yeah. And you look a little bit at the box score and kind of look at the minutes distribution, and not that we'll necessarily see a change. I know it's been talked about all season, and not necessarily that it'll happen just because, we mentioned now that you have Billy starting, who's that spark off the bench. But I mean, Malik Ewan played 31 minutes in this game. Pringle played 12. A lot of people are talking, do you finally make that switch to start Ewan? But, we've had this conversation, the other day, Zane, where, I think Ewan is now kind of filling in that role of the spark off the bench now that you have Billy starting. But to see him getting more minutes, and then, I think in this rotation, you saw not a lot of, but a decent amount of Ewan and Pringle on the court at the same time, trying to put out some bigger lineups just because, we saw Missouri have a couple of 7-footers, really big guys down low, and you're going to have to figure out something to, kind of looking ahead too at that, to slow down Florida. And, maybe Cal was playing with some guys and seeing what he could do with a bigger type rotation. But this is more of the Malik Ewan that we kind of were used to seeing before. He had those couple off games where he kind of course, got the injury, got the stitches, and then a little bit of shoulder issues. But, comes out, gives you 16 points, 6 of 11 from shooting, makes 4 of 4 from the line, gives you 8 rebounds, 1 block in 31 minutes. So, great to see that Malik Ewan back. After a couple games where you're starting to question, all right, if he goes and isn't performing, you really don't have a big man presence. So it's good to see him back. But what's your thoughts around that?
So my thoughts on that are, I think you're still going to see Pringle start. I do think Ewan's kind of accepted that, hey, spark plug off the bench role. But another thing that Cal even said after the game was, hey, if we can get more minutes with those two on the court, it does allow Pringle to kind of play the role he's used to. So Pringle, he's not exactly struggled in the past, but whenever it's one true big and 4 guards, he struggled a little bit more. Looking back to last year when he was averaging 9-point-something points and 6-point-something rebounds at South Carolina, he was their 5, but they had a 4 guy who went and got drafted that year. So they were able to have 2 true post players or 2 post presences there offensively. And so with Pringle, what we kind of see with his highlight and kind of where he specializes, I think it's when you have someone who can roll in that high post and kind of be an offsetting big to where you can kind of get a mix and matchup between the 2 guys guarding you. Whenever you're throwing out 4 guards in a post, that's where he tends to struggle a little bit more. Just because he is more of a action. You saw it, it was dunks and lobs where he kind of specializes at. So having another post presence to kind of draw attention away from just him down there in the lane, that's going to help him long term, which is why I also think it's maybe not a horrible idea to see Ewan and Pringle on there together.
Right, especially with what you're going to have to deal with next Saturday when you head to Florida.
Yeah.
On top of, game day is going to be there, so it's going to be this whole thing now. And you want to come out and be able to perform and just not get completely dominated down low by, the big man that Florida have. And,
That's going to be a tough matchup because they have some really good bigs. But I do think that if you're running Ewan and Pringle on the court together, the bad thing is you're not going to have really depth substitution besides Brazil, who doesn't really play the true five. He's more of a stretch four. But at the time, I think having Ewan on there with Pringle, that would also help kind of free up Pringle and get him more in a groove and kind of play better basketball than what we've seen so far this season when he's the only kind of post presence on the court.
right. Yeah. And that's the thing that's also concerning next weekend. And I don't want to spend too much time on this, but you look at it, it's like, yeah, next weekend you're probably going to be looking at another 7-man rotation, especially with Knox out for the foreseeable future, and Sealy not 100%. So on top of it being a tough matchup in that aspect, you're not going to have a lot of depth like we're talking about. But back to this game, so we talked about Malik Ewan having himself a decent game. Billy continues to excel and succeed in this starting role since, getting that opportunity to shift into that type of role. Played 34 minutes yesterday, scored 21 points, 9 of 14 shooting, 2 of 3 from deep, 1 of 2 from the line. He grabs you 1 board, gives you 4 assists, 2 blocks, 3 steals, and again, all that in 34 minutes. And it really seems like Billy has adapted nicely to this starting role where he kind of is playing, well, while working with Acuff and Thomas. He it seems like he's that. I don't know if you'd really call him a second man, third guy. Like, depending on the game, he's your second option or third option behind Thomas. So, I mean, really, it's very encouraging to see what Billy's doing, especially because, you saw him get the minutes to succeed. So it's like, how would you see his performance adjust by getting more minutes and being a starter? And I think he kind of just grabbed it and ran with it.
Yeah. It is one of those where he's very much progressed from a quote glue guy to being a main option on the team. And he's very much his specialty is getting downhill, getting to the rim. He's not going to be a between the legs, step back, hit a 3 kind of guy. But I think his style of play, just kind of that he's able to make a play out of nothing, and he's able to kind of maneuver around defenders. Like yesterday, the one where he came down, hit the spin move, and then the up and under the defender for the reverse layup. That's a very tough shot, especially live action with defenders on you. And, that kind of got the arena going a little bit. And, I think seeing someone who can make those shots that consistently, just be able to make something out of nothing like that, that speaks volumes to the kind of guy he is, but also, just kind of that it's cool because like you watch that highlight and you're like, oh yeah, that's not even like our number 1 option. That's like our number 3 guy. And so it also speaks just to how talented this team is, but also going off of that, with the ball being in his hands more, he's been definitely more under control this season as the season's progressed. But still, 3 of the 5 team turnovers were because of him. So that is a little bit of I think it's still him adjusting to being having the ball in his hands that much more often. But he has definitely made great strides. And the turnovers are kind of the only thing we're looking at now to kind of, hey, let's clean that up a little bit. But I'll take 2 or 3 turnovers if he's still giving you what he gave last night. If he's still being that spark plug for the team and the fans the way he is, I can accept 2 or 3 turnovers and him still do what he does. If you're talking, hey, it's either 3 turnovers and what he did yesterday, or it's 0 turnovers and 4 points off of, 2 of 8 shooting, I'll take this every day.
Right. It's one of those things where you kind of have to take the good with the bad in this instance,
Yeah.
because you're not going to have, everybody be as efficient as what kind of you see Acuff being with protecting the ball and not turning it over a ton. Because, I mean, you look at his numbers, he had a 5 assist to no turnover margin this game. He's one
He's
of the
now
top
averaging
guards.
over. I think he's over 3 assists to turnover ratio on the season,
which is incredible.
for a
Like,
freshman guard, especially, that's incredible. And
and
going back to the whole Calipari guards all time, that's second among all those guards ever. So,
right.
but
And you look at it too, Acuff 20 points on the night. Billy was actually the leading scorer in this game with 21, but you did have Acuff score 24 of 11 from the field, 1 of 3 from deep, 11 of 13 from the line, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 35 minutes. And, with the points, with scoring 20 points, we talked about this yesterday. He is now the SEC leading scorer, passing Josh Hubbard at Mississippi State. He needed 17 points yesterday, grabbed 20, and so now he leads the conference in points and assists on the season so far.
yeah, that's definitely great to see. And kind of like we talked about at the very beginning of the show, it was an off game for him. But I think it also speaks volumes to what kind of player he is and what kind of career he can have long term. Because shots weren't falling. That mid range shot against Alabama was great. This game, he was 4 of 11 from the field, only 1 of 3 from 3. So the threes weren't falling as well. Shots in general weren't falling. So he knows he's tired. He's okay. So you saw a few times he would beat his man and then slow down ever so slightly and get the free throw, put up 13 free throw attempts, made 11 of them. So even when shots aren't falling, you're having an off day, he was still able to contribute in a very valuable way for the team and still put up 20 points. So It's one of those, and it's not like he makes his living off of drawing fouls and shooting free throws. So it's different, but the fact he has that ability to still draw the contact and get to the line and do all that, that's just another thing he's good at when it comes to looking at your point guards, what they're able to do. Because when I think I texted you guys, hey, they're playing 3 guys with 4 fouls. Look for slowing it down, trying to draw some fouls here, and it's what they kind of ended up doing. So it was good to see kind of another side of Acuff's game, and yet still being beneficial to the team as a whole in doing so.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you look at it and you flip over to a guy like Malik Thomas that we talked about. It's been getting more consistent game by game. He gives you 14 points, 5 of 9 shooting, 2 of 3 from deep, 2 of 2 from the line, 8 boards, 2 assists, 1 block, 1 steal in 37 minutes. So, he's becoming another dependable guy. Brazil that we talked about, led the team in assists yesterday. Scored 12 points, 3 of 9 from the field, 2 of 7 from deep, 4 of 4 from the line. Gives you 5 rebounds, gives you 6 assists, 1 block in 32 minutes. So, I mean, what was the stat? I guess this would be now. I think it was maybe before the Alabama game. You had mentioned that in the previous 4 games combined, Brazil had 16 blocks. So, I mean, he's continuing to do that and filling up the stat sheet. So,
yeah,
did unfortunately foul out in this game.
With Missouri's size, he didn't get the same kind of blocks he was getting last few games.
Right.
But he was still at least a presence to alter some shots, even on shots he didn't really block. So that is, that speaks volumes, and that's very good to see where you see teams kind of actively, they get the ball in the paint. If he's nearby, they're actually kicking it out, whereas sometimes they would maybe go up with it. So he's even making guys kind of think before going up at times.
Yeah.
So that's also just, besides just the block numbers, that just the presence there and being able to deter shots helps.
Right. And then another guy off the bench that, we saw flashes of classic DJ in this game as well. DJ gives you 7 points in this one, 3 of 5 shooting, 1 of 2 from deep. Gives you a rebound, 2 assists in 18 minutes. So a solid, efficient 18 minutes, giving you 7 points. Coming in and, he comes in and hits his classic DJ 3 for the game, and he's starting to kind of eat it up a little bit more with knowing we have a shortened roster and rotation. He's kind of stepping his game up a little bit.
Yeah, I think this game was kind of really big for DJ. You're seeing now, especially with the shortened bench, he is getting more minutes. I think DJ is very much one of those guys where he just needs the opportunity. He needs to build confidence, because once he's confident, he's able to play very well. You saw that he had a dunk over a 7-foot guy from Missouri. So, I mean, that was an explosive play, but you can tell he's feeling confident. He's starting to kind of get back into a rhythm. And kind of like last season, once Boogie went down and he was kind of the main guy as far as bringing the ball up and as the guard, you could tell he was getting more confident, more comfortable kind of with the team and running the offense. And that's where he really kind of took off last year. So, I'm kind of looking now to kind of see him hopefully get these 15 to 25 minutes. I don't really see him getting below 12 anymore. Probably hopefully leaning more towards the 20 to 25 minutes a game. Running the offense more, especially with Acuff a little banged up, and kind of building that confidence and being a kind of a reliable contributor, kind of like we saw this game.
Yeah. So that's good to see, especially with, we're officially kind of in that home stretch now of the season where you've got 2 weeks left before conference tournament starts. So, your final 4 games midweek this week at home versus A&M. As previously mentioned, next Saturday, you're on the road, college game day at Gainesville. Then you come back home, your last home game against Texas and Bud Walton, and then finish the season on the road at Columbia. And so, realistically, you look at those final 4 games, and I don't think it's crazy to say, it'd be fantastic to Arkansas finish 3-1 in that final 4-game stretch. And of course, with that one, more than likely being Florida, who knows, maybe, we see guys step up and they come out and surprise us. But, if I'm looking at the rest of the season, that's kind of would be my expectation with this team is, hey, finish out 3-1 in this last 4-game stretch, and enter conference tournament time on a positive note.
Yeah, I think it's one of those, and you saw it last year, even like with Cal, he's able to get guys to play their best when their back is against the wall. And I think coming down the stretch here, 2 games behind Florida, he's going to have a way of talking the guys into hey, your back's against the wall. For wanting what we're wanting to do this year, you really need to get a top 4 seed. That makes it a lot easier. So I think he's going to have a way to kind of get these guys in hey, back's against the wall, you really got to come out and play. It wouldn't shock me to see the team come out and play kind of like they did against Kentucky last year at Kentucky. So I can see that against Florida. If I had to bet, I would say you do lose a close one to Florida. But, hey, hopefully they can come out, play strong, and, hey, I would not be opposed to a 4-0 finish on the season. So,
where do you think that gets us if we finish 4-0? Let's see.
We finish 4-0, and then you win. So, if you finish 4-0, you're finishing either second in the conference, 1 game behind Florida, or you're winning the conference, tied with the same record as Florida, having the tiebreaker over them based on the way the league's kind of looking right now. We would need help from most likely Kentucky to knock off Florida as well to have the same record as them. But if you go 4-0, say you win 1 game in the SEC tournament and then drop a game, I think it's actually in our best interest, especially the 7-man rotation, to not try and win the SEC tournament, because you're talking a game 4 or 5 days in a row. It's going to wear them down, and then come first round, you're going to be gassed. If you see all the times Cal makes to the SEC championship game, they always struggle. Sometimes they'll lose, sometimes they'll win first round, but they always struggle that first round game. So I think in our best interest, you win 1 game in the tournament, you go out Thursday or Friday, get a few extra days rest. If you do that, I think you're looking at high 4, low 3 seed, depending on how the rest of the teams up there kind of shake out rest of the season.
Yeah, because, I mean, the way you're sitting right now, and that's after this weekend played out, Florida, of course, top of the conference, 12-2, with that 2-game margin there. But then for either you got 3-way tie for second place in the conference right now between Alabama, us in Tennessee, all at 10-4. And then, below that, you got A&M in between at third with 9-5 record. Of course, them coming to Bud Walton this week. So, it's going to be interesting to see how things do shake out with the final 2 weeks of the season. But as we kind of look forward, A&M, you got a late start this week, midweek game on Wednesday, the 25th at 8 o'clock. It's going to be on ESPN2. You've got a very interesting A&M team coming to Bud Walton. We've seen them have games and stretches where they look really good. They went through a 4-game losing streak before, they bounced back against Ole Miss and then had back-to-back wins against Ole Miss and Oklahoma yesterday. And so, they've been a team that's been a little bit up and down throughout conference play this year after kind of running through and with a new buckyball that they have going on in College Station. But when you look at this team and how things are dispersed, the main guy you're going to have to look at is Rashawn Agee. Their forward, he is their leading scorer in points, leading rebounder, and leading blocks. Of course, plays 25.8 minutes a game. He is a senior, 6'7", 231 forward. So, kind of a guy that I feel like would be a guy that you're going to match up with Brazil at that forward spot. Just based off kind of size and athleticism. Averages 8.9 rebounds a game as well. Is the leading scorer there. So, but then behind him, you got 2 guards, Marcus Hill and Rylan Griffin, that both play over 20 minutes a game. Both guys average about 11 points a game. So, this one, I don't think you have to maybe worry too much about size like you did against Missouri. It's going to be back to one of those games where, for all intents and purposes, it's going to be more of guard on guard play.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, I think Agee, however you say it, I think that'll be more of a Pringle and Ewan. I think this really favors us because if you look at them, I mean, they have a guy who's 6'11", Zach Clemens, who plays 14 minutes a game. Other than that, though, it's pretty much all guards they play. And their starting lineup, at least against Oklahoma, 6'7" Agee, 6'6" Dominguez. I think Hill is 6'3", 6 foot Lane, and 6'5" Griffin. So you're looking at 4 guys, 6'6" and lower, and then one guy who's 6'7". So I think you're going to throw out Pringle. I think this will be another game where you're going to see a lot more minutes from Ewan as opposed to Pringle just because of the matchup. But I think that their size is one that you can really take advantage of down low. I think Brazil will probably guard Dominguez. He's kind of a wing guard for him. But then you're saying Brazil has a 4-inch advantage on this guy. And
Right.
then, I mean, so size-wise, we match up really well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because almost every position we're going to be taller than. So it's one of those where I expect a lot of attacking the paint. Now, Buckyball, they do shoot a lot of threes. They will press you, so we really need A-Cup to be on his A game. But yeah, it'll be an interesting game because, and that's the reason they press so much is they don't really have the size to run a half-court offense too effectively. So they kind of rely on making you uncomfortable and not setting up an offense. Because if you can get down the paint, I feel like you're going to get Agee in foul trouble potentially. And I don't know what kind of depth they have besides that Clemens guy. So it's one of those. Obviously, I'm not the coach, but if I was the coach, I would be attacking the paint every single possession and maybe not look for as many fast break points. Again, 7-man rotation, but you also know in the half court you can at least pound it down low against these guys. So it may not be a horrible game plan to take into this matchup.
Right, and that's the thing where not only you have the size, but it's not like you have the size, but your guys are not super athletic and slow. All your guys that we've got, are able to run the floor and super athletic, long. So, hopefully, like you said, we'll be able to cause some of those mismatch problems and, to your point, pound it in the paint because, we do match up well there. And maybe this is one of those games where you can really get Pringle going, what Ewan can give you. And it's one of those things, and, we didn't necessarily hit on it, but, we talked about it yesterday where, coming out of halftime, Nick Pringle went to Cal and was like, hey, start Ewan the second half because he's playing well. He was like, go ahead. He's like, let him continue to play well. So, and
Ewan's also good at drawing fouls, so I feel like that's also going to be in our advantage. But, if I had to give a little prediction or something for this game, I'm going to say that we really don't have that many offensive rebounds this game, even though we are bigger than them. I think it's very much because what they want to do is, hey, off a missed shot, you outlet to the wing, you pass it up cross half court, and you go from there. They rely on not letting the defense get set up and just moving the ball quick. So I'd say as soon as a shot goes up, you get 2 or 3 guards back ASAP because they are coming fast. So It's one of those where shot goes up, they already have one guy sprinting to the opposite wing on the other side of the court, ready to get the ball and get going with it. So it's one of those where, since they're not going to want to play slow either, in terms of the conditioning, yeah, we're conditioned well, but with the 7-man, it's almost like maybe don't match that intensity because I feel like come into the game, that's going to wear us down almost too much for them. So that's one where it's just kind of being erring on the side of caution. But
yeah, and that's one where, to your point, if this was earlier in the season and we didn't necessarily have the super short rotation, I'd be like, well, this pace of play really fits what we excel in, the up and down the court, fast, kick it out, drive, not letting the defense get set. But to your point, it'll be interesting to see how Cal game plans for this, knowing we do have the shorter roster. Guys are going to get tired. And, but at the end of the day, having that advantage, I like it. So it'll be fun to watch this game. Again, it's going to be a late one this week in midweek.
Yep.
8 o'clock. So late tip off on ESPN2. And then after that, it'll be time to prep for Florida. So, it's going to be interesting to see how this rest of the season finishes out, but I'm going to call it. I feel like we can go 3-1 the rest of this way. I would love 4-0, but right now it's just hard for me to get past that matchup with Florida, with how just our bigs have struggled as of late against size. And
yeah, you saw their bigs even yesterday kind of have their way against us at times. So that was definitely one where if Missouri's bigs are giving you trouble, then Florida's will probably give us more trouble potentially.
Right.
So it's not a great matchup, I think. But hey, like I said to you last night, hopefully we can get Boogie Flan thinking he's the greatest shooter in the world leading up to, and he'll launch 15, 16 threes against us. So I'd sell for that with his percentage on the season.
What's his percentage?
It's not good. I'll tell you that. Here, let me check. Hang on. Give me just a sec.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be
19.8%.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So hey, hey, your revenge game against your old team. Come out. Hey, shoot 15 plus threes. I will gladly take that.
I don't think they'll let him do that.
No, they're not, but I wish they would.
Right. So, that's going to be interesting, especially thinking about what went into. This is the game they picked for game day. Like, it's interesting. They decide not to choose the Kentucky game, and now they choose this game. I get, Boogie going from Arkansas to Florida, defending national champs, et cetera, et cetera. So,
I mean, if anyone's going to knock Florida off of winning the SEC, this is probably Florida's toughest game left. So,
Right.
I mean, I kind of get that aspect of it as well. So,
Yeah, fair enough. So it's going to be a fun, wild ride these final 2 weeks to see how Arkansas finishes up the season. But I'm here for it, and we're going to keep you up to date the rest of the way. And as we continue on here, let's jump from the hardwood to the baseball diamond as Arkansas finally opened up home play this weekend after opening the season in Arlington last weekend, coming home 3-1. You had the Xavier Musketeers coming to town this weekend, and per usual for Arkansas at Baum Stadium, they swept the series at home. You don't see Arkansas lose too many in Baum, and they took care of business this weekend. And that all started with Friday afternoon, nice chilly day. Arkansas gets the win 5-2. Didn't see a change in pitching rotation as far as starters for your Friday, Saturday, Sunday guys. Gabe Geckel gets to start in this one and comes out and looks much better in this game. Goes 5 innings, allows 4 hits, only 1 run, with that being earned, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts on 77 pitches. And then you kind of saw the same 1-2 punch as last weekend. Cole Gibbler comes in to finish things up, goes the final 4, 5 hits allowed, 1 run, no walks, 2 strikeouts on 51 pitches. But another great Friday night between these two guys with this 1-2 punch.
Yeah, he's struggling a little bit at command, but he's working through it. So, hats off to Gackel for, last year he was getting roughed up a little bit at the start of the year. This year is not the case as much because he's working through it. So, if he's a little off now, there's only imagine what he's going to be doing later in the season. So, and then of course Gibbler coming in after him, that seems to be a solid combination. So hopefully we can keep that momentum going with those two. Like I said, it reminds me of that Hagen Smith Hunter Holland combination a few years ago on a Friday night. So those two are big time. And then it saves Orange for the rest of the weekend. It pretty much set the tone for us to really not use a whole lot of pitchers this weekend.
Right. Yeah, and you look through it, and it's like you used 2 on Friday, you used 3 on Saturday, and used 1 today. And we'll get to that in a minute. But I mean, efficiency, and we know how loaded your arms are. So if that's the case, and the longer you're able to go with using the bare minimum, yes, of course you want to get guys innings, get them in the rotation, and get them some reps, but that just bodes well towards looking towards later in the season. You're going to have guys that are fresher compared to teams that if they're having to use 2 to 3 arms every single game, and it's great to see that. And then you jump on the offensive side of things. This was a back and forth game, 5-2. The guy that had a phenomenal weekend last weekend didn't start the series the greatest, with Ruiz going 0-4 in game 1 with 1 strikeout. But you had Nolan Souza DHing, had a great game 1 last weekend, struggled the other few games. Comes back out at home, goes 2 for 4 with 1 run scored, 2 RBIs, and just comes out and, I think he's slowly working his way back, and, is looking very much like the player we started to see through last year before the injury. Cam Kozel, I mean, I don't know if it's some magic from the armadillo that he took out of Baum Stadium or what, but he opened up the series with a bang and just continued that momentum through every game. But he opened up Friday night going 1 for 4 with a run, 3 RBIs, 1 strikeout. And, with that, I mean, hits the bomb. Like he just did it all this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Kozel is a guy that I knew was going to have a good year, draft eligible this year, but I didn't know he's going to have this great of a start to it. You can't really start really better than he has. I mean, think about all the clutch hits he's had, man. The game time home run Sunday, the game that y'all left early, tying it up Sunday. And then just all the weekend, he just every single game. this weekend. He set the tone in the first inning right off the bat. So, I mean, he's a huge part of this lineup. I love that he's got him hitting in the 4-hole now because that's the spot. And when you got him in the 4-hole and then Kehio right behind him, that's a dangerous combination. Like they walked I think they walked him today to face Kehio. It didn't hurt him this time around, but I don't really recommend doing that in the future. But yeah, and then you got Helfert right before them. So this I love to see that. And Kozel, he's made a few errors in the field, but I think he's made up for it at the plate. And then Souza, it was good to see him get a few good hits because, like I said, when he gets on base, he's probably the most athletic guy on the field as far as being able to steal a bag. So it's good to see him get on base.
Yeah. And so Arkansas takes care of business on Friday, getting the win 5-2. You jump over to Saturday, a little bit more excitement in this game as it was a back and forth game all day. Arkansas gets the win 7-6, where you had Arkansas come out, take the early lead 2-0. Xavier comes back, scores 3-1, three runs, takes the lead. You come back, score a run to tie it up. And it's just back and forth all the way until the 9th inning. So in this one, we saw Hunter Dietz get the start on Saturday again, just like last weekend. He goes 4 innings, last 5 hits, 4 runs, 2 of those being earned, 1 walk. Did get 9 strikeouts in this game. And on 84 pitches, faced 20 batters. Another game where he pitched well, but also, they were still getting a lot of hits on him. And it's going to be interesting how Dave goes forward. We'll talk about here in a minute that we had some discussion in our group chat about, this rotation. But then after Dietz, you had Coyle come in for 3 innings. Come in, went lights out, but then allowed those 2 home runs back to back. So he went 3 innings, 2 hits allowed, 2 runs, both of those being earned, 4 strikeouts. Came in initially, went 11 for 11 on strikes, 34 total pitches, and then Steele Eves comes in to close this one out. The final 2 innings, allows 2 hits, no runs, no walks, 1 strikeout on 21 pitches.
Yeah, I think Dave Van Horn said something about out of all the pitchers or something, they threw like a total of 5 balls out of the bullpen or something. It's amazing, but yeah, I mean,
combined they threw 7.
Yeah,
Coyle threw 4 balls and Eves threw 3.
Unreal. So I mean, those guys ate up 5 innings worth of pitching. So I mean,
5 innings,
unbelievable. And of course, when you're a strike thrower like that, you're going to give up a couple of long balls, especially when you're a guy like Parker Cool that has that breaking ball that may hang a little bit. So I mean, luckily there were solo home runs and didn't bite us. But yeah, I mean, Dietz has the stuff. I mean, he's got really, really good stuff. Fastball and cutter is really electric. He's struggling commanding the breaking ball. If he can really get that going, I think he's going to be deadly. But he's got the stuff. I mean, you see 9 strikeouts. Excuse me, but yeah, I mean, he's got the stuff to be great, and he's working through that injury. So, and then of course, Steele Eves, man, he seems to always come in and just not give up anything every time he's in there. So good to see the bullpen doing well, and Parker Cool's gonna be fine. You can tell he was frustrated giving up those home runs, but man, you got to love a guy that throws strikes. I'll be okay with some solo home runs if you're not putting people on base.
Exactly.
It's kind of like Billy. You take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so you look at the other side, we mentioned this was a back and forth exciting game. Really, the thing to talk about on the offensive side for the Saturday game for Arkansas was kind of that middle of the order there. That's where Arkansas really lived and that carried this team on Saturday between Ryder Helfrich hitting in the three-hole, Kozel, as you mentioned before, in the 4-hole, and then Kehio right there at 5. But, between those 2 guys, you had 8 hits between just those 3 guys, 5 RBIs. And if you look at it, Ryder Helfrich continues to show the country why he's one of, if not the best catcher in the country, and is going to be drafted really high. He just comes out and goes 2 for 5, 2 runs scored, 1 RBI, only struck out once, but come out, put a ball over the wall. No surprise there. He's able to get under these pitches, really knows how to work an at-bat. Then you have Kojal, as we mentioned, started the weekend off hot on Friday night and then just continues to light things up, going 4 for 5 at the plate with 3 runs scored, 2 RBIs, and then Cajillo winning it for Arkansas, walking it off, going 2 for 4 at the plate, 1 run scored, 2 RBIs, and also walked once. Those 3 guys so far have been carrying Arkansas to start the season.
Yeah, they have. But that's what the 3, 4, and 5 are supposed to do. So, and they're the 3 returning players from last year that were supposed to be carrying this team. So the transfers are struggling to get in the groove so far, other than Ruiz, who's been now hurt. So, but I mean, those guys are carrying the load, which they're expected to be. So it's good to see that, to have your returning players do that. Kozul, hitting for the cycle. I mean, that is they don't see that very much. I don't think people understand how rare that is.
And you got the 2 hard ones out of the way first.
Got the 2 hard ones out of the way first. So it was beautiful to see. So,
well, and it's funny listening to Dave talk after the game, talking about Kojal. They said where he didn't even realize he hit for the cycle until they announced it after he had already did it. But he was also talking about on that last double, he said, that was a hit that probably wasn't necessarily supposed to be a double, but he was really digging it out and got it. So, you got to love Cam. I have to catch myself. So update, if you haven't heard Razorback Nation, he's going by Camden this year, not Cam. So I'm having to catch myself. I've talked to people that they're catching themselves. Even if you listen to them on the radio and at the stadium, it's Camden. So Camden Kojal has just been on fire this season. And then, Aloy, we talked about it, we called him Baby Barry Bonds, it seems like he's continuing where he left off last year, all the RBIs, he's just continuing to come in, have clutch hits, which we saw all last year. I mean, it's like if you get some of these transfers, and even maybe the freshman Brumbaugh to really start offensively at the plate, getting things better. We're in store for another fun season of Arkansas baseball.
Yeah, that's the thing. The transfers hit last year. They started to come along and hit. So like Maxwell was not really in the lineup to start the year because he was dealing with a hamstring. But, that's a 300 hitter from last year. Davalon really took off midway into the season, probably about around March. He kind of started heating up, and then he just got on base left and right. And then Iredale was really took off at the beginning of the year and slowed down towards the end. And Justin Thomas Jr. was a slow start too. He was hitting 200 at one point at the beginning of the season. So, I think these guys just need a little time. Plus, man, it's 30 degrees out there. Like, these kids ain't used to that. Like, all these kids, you look at Brumbaugh, man, you can't even see his face today. He's so cold out there. So, I mean,
my wife asked what Souza was wearing on the game today. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's a hoodie. And she's like, wait, what? I was like,
yeah.
He's also from Hawaii. So
I was about to say those Hawaiians. Brumbaugh a little bit different because he's an Oklahoma kid. So, it still gets cold over there. So,
I don't think Souza and Aloy are too used to this whole sub 45 degree weather.
But Pompey, he's from Texas, ain't he?
Yes.
So, I mean, he definitely ain't used to this. And, so.
Well, and you got spoiled opening the season down in Globe Life, where you're in a nice climate controlled area, and then you come back to Fayetteville and it's
Exactly.
below 50.
So let's give these guys a chance to.
Well, they were talking about Xavier's schedule. They're like, oh yeah, they gotta go play. What was it, Indiana and someone else? Like the next week, it's like, yep, that's even more cold weather right there.
I think they have a top 5 hardest schedule in the country, so they're going to be playing.
Yeah, they were talking about a few times. So, but I will say, Xavier's, they're not a bad team. They got some guys that can play.
No, they're not. Some of their best hitters aren't even healthy right now.
That's what they were saying. So,
well, and they were talking about too how, and David hinted on this on the pregame show about how, Xavier is one of the freest hitting teams he's seen, that they're not afraid to go after and be aggressive, early in the count instead of sitting back and waiting. And so, I mean, you saw that with, all their hitters. One guy that I saw, somebody said, let's add him to our transfer portal big board for next recruiting cycle. Stonehouse, yes. So, guy comes in and, is hitting over 300 and, has 2 different days where he hits a home run against you. It's a guy I'm going to be watching as well. So, and then you jump over to today's game, which, after going, I got home and my wife's like, "You're already home?" I was like, "Yes." The game went that quick today. This game wrapped up in just under 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yep.
Game started at 12:02 first pitch. The game was over, and I was walking out of the stadium at 2:11. So probably one of the quickest games we'll have all season. But that's just because your starting pitcher, Colin Fisher, was lights out today and, cruising through these innings. And then Arkansas was just putting up run after run in this game as they took it 11-0 in 8 innings. But Colin Fisher, man, 2 back-to-back amazing outings from him last week in Arlington. He comes out this one and just comes out 8 innings, 1 hit allowed, which was a weird, funky hit that, I hated it got through and got counted on him. But no runs, no walks, 11 strikeouts for Colin Fisher, career high for him. 25 batters faced, 86 pitches.
Yeah.
Xavier lined him up, and he just knocked him down.
And this is the guy that probably could have started last year. I mean, he's been a consistent player. I know his midweek games or whatnot, but he's always had just really good starts. So you kind of had a feeling that he may be ready to take that leap. And he sure enough is. I mean, the way he's pitching right now, I'm going to say he's probably one of the best pitchers in the country right now. I mean, I know it's only 2 starts, but I mean, he has all the stuff. I know they were making a post about Texas as a Sunday starter, which was the guy that led the nation in saves last year that got moved to their Sunday starter this year. Like, oh yeah, it's not fair to have him as a Sunday starter. Well, you should probably look down to Fayetteville too. They got a pretty good one too. So, which we talked about this before. He may get moved up, but we'll see. I mean, yeah, it's really nice to have a Sunday guy like this. It really is. I mean, the way they're pitching right now, I know it's early, but we don't have I don't see a weakness in this pitching staff. I don't know if it's one of the deepest I've seen so far, and we've got guys that haven't pitched yet that are really good. Right. That's the thing. We're 7 games in. They ain't had a chance to pitch because everybody's pitching so good.
Right, and that was we were talking about that today too, because if this were to go to a 9 inning, it looked like Arkansas was warming up another freshman to get some action in Jared Lorenzini. Yeah. I was hoping they would have, if we would have went to the 9th, that they would have given Fisher the chance to pitch the complete game. But I also see the other side of it of trying to get some of these other young guys some action as well. But yeah, I mean, Colin Fisher lights out. We'll talk about it in a minute. What you just hinted on maybe some rotation shift, but offensively, this is another game where, hey, heart of the order, even Nolan Souza today, you look at it, Souza just coming out 2 for 4, 3 runs scored, 1 walk. Ryder Helfrich doing his thing again, 2 for 4, 1 run scored, 3 RBIs, having another home run today, his 4th of the season. And then Cam Kojal, 2 for 4, 2 runs scored, 2 RBIs, 1 walk. And then Cahillo doing it again, being the man to walk it off. 3 for 5 today, 2 runs scored, 3 RBIs. And of course, hits the walk-off home run at the end of the game to put Arkansas up 11-0 and get us out of there early.
Yeah, I think Cahillo's hitting 500 on the year. I mean, this guy, he's incredible. And I truly believe Yeah, I truly believe if he had a chance to bat against TCU again, we could have tied that game or won it. So I mean, this guy is he's different when people are on base. He can do his thing when nobody's on base, but he's got that clutch hitting.
RBI machine.
Yes, exactly who that is. And
we talked about that those same guys again today, but another guy that you can't leave out today that we hadn't seen too much of. We saw him briefly down in Arlington, but finally got a start today with Ruiz, as Dave mentioned post-game, having some soreness in his calf area. Zach Stewart, the transfer from Missouri State, got the start in left field today and grabbed it and didn't look back. I mean, he just had a phenomenal day at the plate, going 2 for 4, 1 run scored. 1 RBI. He started things off with a bang today with a home run, and then just made some spectacular plays out in left field. Like defensively, he came out fired up, ready to go. And this is a guy that I know we talked about it before the show started. It's like make sure you think about it a little bit more and maybe some shake up in the rotation. Yes, this is just one game, but Zach Stewart was a guy that we were excited to get in here. Did some damage against Arkansas last year at Missouri State. And we said, hey, let's just suit you up in Razorback red and let's do that damage against other teams. And sure enough, that's what he did today.
Yeah, I've been waiting to see him. I know they started him against Tarleton State, but he got 1 at bat and they subbed him out. So I'm like, okay, well, is he just going to be a midweek guy or what are we doing with this guy? And finally he got a chance to play today and he made the most of it. So this guy's got tremendous power and he always seems to hit well in this ballpark. So I'm glad that Dave finally gave him a chance to play. Because I love Christian Turner, great defense, amazing speed, but he's not really getting on base or getting hits like that. So it's good to see a guy that can hit the ball well, a guy that's a senior, been there and done that, so get some playing time. And I'm sure we're going to see him a lot more now. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts either 1 or 2 both games against Arkansas State.
Yeah. And he's a guy that, we talked about too, is it's like, you look at, all right, where Arkansas is doing right now, where this lineup's sitting, you got a guy, as we mentioned, TJ Pompey, that's struggling a little bit from the plate. And, it all depends on the arm strength. I know that's what Dave said when you're thinking about a guy at Souza on, if you make some shifts around this rotation where you get Souza out there at third. I know you mentioned Hobbs, you putting Souza at third, and then you throw Stewart in the DH role. And who's a really good DH from the past that he reminds you of? It's one Charlie Welch, the situational play. You put him in, and he just comes in and drives the ball out of the stadium. So it'll be interesting to see what the lineup looks like, to your point, on these midweek games against Arkansas State. And then also going into next weekend. Because, next weekend you aren't going to have as tough of a series like you did this weekend against Xavier. You've got UT Arlington coming to town. for a 3-game series, 3 o'clock on Friday, 2 o'clock on Saturday, 1 o'clock on Sunday. But, where you might see a few more changes in the rotation against some of these teams where you want to get some of these younger guys in, but also trying to figure out some of these guys how your rotation is going to shake out. So, if he keeps hitting the ball like he did today, there's a good chance that you see him more frequently on the lineup card.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's also good to have depth. So you want to have guys because you've seen Cajillo have to miss a few games. And then, of course, Ruiz now having to miss some time. So it's good to have that depth piece for this team. So it's not an end of the world thing if we can't play everybody. But with some guys struggling, it's good to have him to be able to plug in the lineup.
Right. And it's like, how many times have we seen Dave build rosters like this where you got the depth where, all right, a guy's not necessarily performing well right now. You've got another guy you can just swap out and easily plug in the lineup, and you're not missing anything defensively, and maybe you're adding some additional help at the plate. So, and then you
saw last year when you thought Kendall Diggs was coming back, had a chance to come back from injury and have a good season, and then he continued to struggle. And here comes Justin Thomas taking his spot. So it's just one of them things.
Yeah. And, you saw today some of those young guys getting an opportunity, Christian Turner and Carter Rutenbar both getting pinch hit opportunities today late in the game just to get some at-bats in. But, yeah, Arkansas gets its first sweep of the season and first of many, more than likely. As I mentioned at the top of this, you're not going to see Arkansas lose very much at Baum-Walker Stadium. So,
knock on wood just to be safe.
100%.
No, we're going to sweep more. I promise you that. Don't worry about no wood or nothing.
And you don't knock on wood, which makes it even all the more irritating. So,
but hopefully next weekend we'll see a little bit warmer temperatures as we get closer to March. It was a great weekend of Arkansas baseball. Even though it was chilly, you still had people showing up and showing out at the ballpark. So I'm glad Arkansas baseball is back. You got 2 midweek games, like I mentioned this week. Arkansas State on Tuesday and Wednesday. Both games start at 3 p.m. Both games on SEC Network Plus. And then same for the games over the weekend. Next weekend will all be on SEC Network Plus. One thing we need to talk about is, we kind of talked about this earlier too, is it'll be interesting to see what next weekend's pitching rotation looks like, because I wouldn't be opposed, and we all, I think, said this in our group text with us, let's swap around Colin Fisher and Hunter Dietz in the Saturday-Sunday slots and, see what that does. Because with how Fisher's pitching right now, you have him and Gackle back-to-back on your Friday-Saturday games, and then, maybe put Dietz in a less pressure situation, not being in kind of a middle, crucial, could go either way type of spot wherein it's the Sunday game, knock on wood, more than likely. Arkansas is going to be leading the series, so it's like, okay, you've already got the series clinched. Not as much pressure on you to go out there and, be a must-win type of situation.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think that's probably what Dave is in the back of his mind, Matt Hobbs as well. So you definitely, you kind of figure out what Fisher has, and any Saturday game, you're either looking at, you either won the first game, you're trying to win the series, or you lost the first game and you're trying to at least even the series to have a chance to win the series on Sunday. So you need a guy you can trust that's dependable, and that's what all Colin Fisher is about right now. So
right,
definitely not Dietz. He's been a little shaky. He's got good stuff. And like you said, maybe moving him to Sunday, being a 3 guy, will take some pressure off of him, especially since we're still playing some weaker opposing teams compared to what we're going to see in the SEC. So,
right.
Yeah, but we'll see. I mean, we'll see if he changes it this upcoming weekend. I don't see him replacing Dietz as a starter yet.
Right.
We'll see what happens, but there's some guys out there in the bullpen like Tate McGuire. We didn't get a chance to see him. I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of the starters Tuesday and Wednesday. It'd probably be Peyton Lee and him. I would be surprised if it's anybody else.
I was about to say, you read my mind there, because that's what I was going to say is you didn't see Tate McGuire this weekend after he had a fantastic outing last weekend. And so could see him get the midweek start to see kind of how he reacts to, a starting type of role. Because, over his past few years here, we've only seen him kind of come in a relief type role. And so how does his mentality go when he's put in one of those situations where he's the starter? He's going to get kind of the tone set for the game. And so, it'll be interesting to see, like you said, and I bet we'll see Peyton Lee, a guy that got the start against Tarleton, a guy that Dave and the staff is very high on as a freshman. So that'll kind of give you some answers as well. And then next weekend, do you see that swap, or do you see Dave giving a little bit more leash to Dietz? Because, he, like we've said before, the talent is there. You see it today, even though he got hit up a little bit, but still had 9 strikeouts. So he's got really good stuff. It's just if you can kind of get that aspect figured out where he's not taking as many hits, then, you could solidify kind of that rotation there. So,
yeah, we'll see. I mean, like I said, this guy's a guy that's been highly talented his whole career, but just struggled with injuries. So, he's going to be somewhere. If it's starting, or he's going to be a middle relief kind of guy, he's going to be there. So he's just got to figure out command issues, and he'll be fine. And then the defense did struggle a little bit. They could have done a little bit better in the field for him too, but other than that, we'll be fine. I mean, this team is rocking and rolling.
Agreed 100%. So, they take care of business this weekend, get the sweep, and, ready for a nice 2 midweek games, and then back to a nice weekend. Homestand is, like we mentioned, they will not play away from mom until a month from now. So as we jump from one diamond to the other, Arkansas softball also had an eventful this weekend as they played in the Razorback Invitational. You had some big things happen. In the same day, you had star senior pitcher Robin Herron throw a shutout. You saw a complete game shutout no-hitter from Robin Herron, and then a complete shutout from freshman pitcher Sailor Timmerman on the same day. So, this Arkansas softball team is continuing to do the things that we saw last year from Courtney Difel. So the first game of the weekend in this invitational, Arkansas beat SEMO 6-0. And Sailor Timmerman, a freshman right-hander, getting the start in the circle. 7 innings pitched, only 2 hits allowed, 3 walks, 11 strikeouts, 103 pitches in this game for her. On the offensive side of things, Reagan Johnson in center field got things going in this game. 1 for 2 from the plate, 1 run scored. And so, this team is continuing. We saw how they got the start in the season, earlier in the season, with all the run rule games that they've had. And the offense is there, and they kind of reloaded that pitching staff along with some of the people that they brought back. And if you look at it, Robin Herron in the late game became just the 3rd Arkansas pitcher in program history to toss 3 no-hitters during their Razorback career. So that was her 3rd no-hitter of her career. And that was the other 2 that did it. Heather Schlittman from 2001 to 2004 had 3, and then Mary Half from 18 to 22 had 3 as well. She struck out 12 of her 22 batters faced, while only 2 batters reached due to a 1-out 2nd inning walk. And so fantastic job from the circle there. Arkansas is loaded. Softball is loaded from the pitching staff aspect. You jump over to the offensive side of things. Arkansas hit 6 doubles against Northwestern, 2 from Kylie Wyckoff, if we remember her from last year, 2 of 3 at the plate, two doubles, an RBI, and a run scored. And then Carly Davidson, 2 from 3 from the plate, two doubles, an RBI, a run scored. And then Brinley Bain also recorded multiple hits in the win with a 2 of 3 performance that featured an RBI and a run scored. Timmerman, the freshman in the earlier game versus SEMO, struck out 11, 2 hits, 3 walks, 103 total pitches. She is 2-0 on the year. And, she was the first to accomplish a complete game shutout since Robin Heron did it in a 4-0 win back in 23. So, you got the senior, you got the freshman, and it seems like that could be the next handoff or, handing over the torch type of situation. So, fantastic job there as they got the job done there. And then as you jump over to Saturday's 2 games, Arkansas increased its winning streak to 10 games as they played Northwestern and SEMO. Once again, you had Peyton Barnum and Lily Faye McWhorter get the starts in these games. And Arkansas is now 12-1 this season, and they're outscoring their opponents 137-15 with 9 of their 12 wins coming by way of run rule.
It's a lot to a little.
Man.
So Davidson at the plate went 3 for 5 with 2 home runs, a triple, 5 RBIs, and 2 runs scored. Just another day at the office. And then in the circle, we mentioned Peyton Burnham. She improved to 3-1 on the season after pitching a complete game shutout against Northwestern. She struck out 7, just 1 walk and 5 hits in her 7 innings of work. McWhorter carried the no-hitter into the 5th inning during her first collegiate start against SEMO and earned her first career victory after she struck out 3, allowing 2 runs on 2 hits with 5 walks and 4 1/3 pitched. In addition to Davidson's performance at the plate, freshman Brinley Bain increased her reached base streak to 13 games after going 1 of 3 at the plate with an RBI, and then 3 and 3 with a double and run scored and 3 RBIs in the second game. So, Coach Staffel just reloaded with his staff, and, the hitters is pitching. It's to be expected. Arkansas sitting in the top 10 rankings right now as they get ready for. So this weekend was the Razorback Invitational. You got the Whoopig Classic next weekend, where they'll play Omaha, Boise State, Charlotte, and Kansas before getting conference play started at Bogle versus Georgia coming to town the first weekend of March. So, and then in the late game today, Arkansas had Northwestern for a 3rd time this weekend, and they just kind of a round robin type of tournament style play where you saw Kim Harrison get the start in this one. She went 2 innings, allowed 4 hits, 4 runs. Arkansas won that one 9-8. Again, staying 1 loss on the season. Timmerman 2/3 of an inning, and then Heron the final 4 1/3 to finish things off. So Arkansas softball is off and rolling, and we'll see what they do continuing next week. No midweek games for them as they're playing a lot of games during the week. They get things started again with the Whoopig Classic next Thursday, the 26th at 4 o'clock. They'll have 2 games on Friday, one at 4:45, one at 7. And I'm sure that's pending the previous game finishing time. 2 games on Saturday, 2:30, and then 4:45, and then 1 game on Sunday at 12:15. So it's going to be a lot going on next weekend. Not as much with basketball being on the road, but, the Diamond Sports are kicked off, and we know how busy those schedules can get. So, and And then be prepared here in a couple weeks. Arkansas will be taking on Oklahoma on the gymnastics floor. And what they're trying, as Corey mentioned it when he was on the show a few weeks ago, trying to break the record for home attendance. And that'll be March 6th. But we still have a meet between now and then. But we'll quickly cover Friday's meet with, on top of everything else going on. Arkansas tied with Kentucky, but the highlight and storyline from here, Morgan Price, that transferred in from Fisk University, sister of Frankie Price, achieved Arkansas gymnastics history by scoring Arkansas's first and only 10 on the vault. So this was the first 10 in Arkansas history. We've been waiting for it to happen in Bud Walton. And, after multiple tries where performances and routines, should have been 10s, got dinged off, Arkansas finally achieved it in this one. And that was Morgan Price's second 10 in that event. She also did it previously at Fisk. So fantastic job by these ladies. Jocelyn finished the floor routine with a 9.95. Should have been a 10. Not sure where they deducted there, but like Corey said, this is an exciting team to watch this year. They'll be on the road at Columbia next Sunday, March 1st, and then the following Friday, March 6th, we'll be taking on Oklahoma, where it'll be a whiteout meet where they're shooting to break the record. So, hopefully we can do that before finishing up the season on road at LSU before SEC championships start in Tulsa. So, it was a big, busy weekend for Arkansas Razorbacks and athletics. And so, we'll continue on here, keeping you guys up to date. And, it's a busy weekend, but we're handling it and keeping you guys all up to date. So before we get ready to wrap up here, you guys got anything else? Same old, same old. Well, if there's nothing else, we'll get wrapped up and get out of here. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and anywhere you get your podcast. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. That way you don't miss any time we go live, any type of breaking news, or whether it be just our regularly scheduled programming. So we'll be back on Thursday for your midweek show. We're going to wrap up here. Everybody have a great rest of your Sunday and start to the week tomorrow. From Zane, Hobbs, and myself, we're going to get out of here, and we'll see you on Thursday.